Our national government should have a proper anti-corruption agency. I mean, it's appalling that we don't. And there's been a drift in Australia on many, many issues. We've never been able to get it fully incorporated into our system that we're a government based on rights. I mean, we have the Human Rights Commission. We don't have a charter or a Bill of Rights. We've never been able to get the voice of Aboriginal people into the system in the way that I think is warranted by their historical occupation of our lands for so long. We haven't been able to properly get a corruption institution in the place in Canberra. We've let things drift very badly. And I think the chickens are coming home to roost. Corruption is emerging. And I think the time has come really to have that proper institution in place.
I remember at a meeting of South Pacific finance ministers, one of the Pacific ministers made a comment about trust. He said, trust grows like a coconut tree and drops like a coconut. If governments want to rebuild trust, it's not a matter of going out and spruiking themselves and saying, please trust me, we're lovely. They actually have to do things that show to the public that they can be trusted, and they just have to keep it up and keep doing it time after time. And when you've done enough, you can rebuild that trust.
One of the things we've also learned from the COVID experience is the criticality of the volunteer organisations like the Rural Fire Service and the not-for-profits who support communities in huge stress and distress, and the criticality of emergency and key workers. And I think if we've learnt anything in the last 12 months, I hope we've learnt that.
What we need to do, I think, is to make sure two assumptions are built into our system. The first one is that the public sector is very, very important. We must put the public service and the public sector back at the top of our thinking. The second thing we need to do is to make sure, built into the processes of educating our public service and our politicians, to make crisis management a much bigger issue. You know, we in Australia have learned a lot about this over the years. You know, we've had our floods and our fires, but given we're being told that this is going to be a consistent theme in our system, and let's face it, there could be another pandemic. You know, I mean, there's all these viruses might pop up in the Arctic, you know, as it warms down a bit. Well, just, you know, the good bit of it was to see, you know, very important people in Australia, such as, you know, Kerry Chant here in New South Wales, doing such a brilliant job, you know, in terms of their public service responsibilities. I think generally we've raised up questions about what's important in life. I mean, the really important things, the nature of our society, the way we help each other, the way we can respond to crisis, the importance of the public sector and the public interest rather than individual interests. You know, all of the things that have been bad, that's been a good aspect of it. And let's make sure that it continues into the future.
I thought, although the bushfires were terrible, the way communities got together and supported each other in the aftermath was just absolutely wonderful and one of the best parts of the year. Take just one example. It was, for me, just restored my faith in humanity, and that was Andrew Constance and his reaction. Took it personally, wasn't afraid to be emotional. It was just wonderful because we're so used to seeing ministers as robots and automata, and here was someone being a real person. That was just wonderful.
I completely agree with you about Andrew's response and honesty and directness. That was extremely moving, and the strength of those local communities, and you know how they functioned and supported each other is inspiring. But I think a lot of kids, especially ones doing the HSC or the leaving high school, have had a really tough time of it, and I hope that they have a wonderful 2021 and they can have a lot of fun as they I hope they can go back in the workforce if they want to do that, and that's a challenge. But also if they go on to uni or TAFE or whatever they choose to do, that they have a super blast of a 2021, because they certainly need to after the sacrifices they've all made this year.